Well, welcome everyone to our new coach training. We're so happy that everybody is here. And tonight we have some amazing speakers, Optavia coaches that are all extremely successful coaches, and they all have very high front qualifying volume, which what that translates into is that they coach a lot of clients. So these are the people that you want to learn from. And so if you have a notepad, take some notes. And again, this is going to be recorded, so you will be able to rewatch this, and we'll send this off to everybody that was on today. So the first coach that's going to be presenting is Heidi Bell. And Heidi, do you need anything?
Nope.
Okay.
Just totally gonna wing it. Are you ready for me to start?
I'm ready.
Okay. All right. So I'm Heidi Bell, and today is actually my 5-year coach anniversary. So I'm excited about that. Yeah. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about client acquisition, which is, the very first step in the coaching toolbox. And I only have a few minutes to go over what I want to, so it'll be a little abbreviated, but I'm going to talk about a few very important things. So when it comes down to client acquisition, there are kind of a few different categories that we talk about when it comes to acquiring clients. And the first one comes from you getting organized and making a list and you reaching out. So I'm going to talk about that. And then there's the category of talking to people in person that you might be around every day. That's kind of a little different strategy. And then there's the category of social media. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that because we don't have a lot of time. And then there's the category of like leads and referrals. So the first step in talking about acquiring clients is really getting organized with who you want to talk to. And that's why we do encourage you to make a list. And there's a lot of really great tools in the New Coach app on how to do this. There's really a wonderful exercise called I think it's called the free association exercise, where you're literally trying to just brainstorm and write down as many names as you possibly can to create kind of at least like a hundreds list. And that shouldn't be hard to do for most people. And what we're trying to do is avoid prejudging anyone thinking, oh, they need to do this or that, or they can't afford this, but really just trying to think of as many people as you think could benefit from some aspect of our program, whether it's being healthier, whether it's weight loss, whether it's even the coaching opportunity. So there's little things that'll trigger you to remember, to think of lots of different people and write those down. And then they actually walk you through how to categorize that list into groups of 1, 2, or 3. The group 1 list is people who you may have talked to about your health journey, who may be interested, who've asked you, what are you doing? And you kind of know that there's some interest there. And those we recommend to be on the first list of people to reach out to once you begin coaching. Group 2 is close friends and family, people that you feel really comfortable with just picking up the phone and saying, hey, how's it going? I haven't, talked to you in a while. And list 3 is everybody else. So list 3 is probably going to be your biggest list. But depending on whether you've done your practice calls with your mentor coach or not, this kind of depends on how you would approach the number ones. But they actually give you really great scripts, so I won't read through those because those are all available on the app, on how to reach out to those first people to get them on the phone. The first 5 are really easy because you can say, I'm doing this great thing, or hey, so-and-so, it's been a while. I'd love to catch up with you. I wanted to tell you about this thing I've been doing. And my coach asked me to find a few people to do a practice call with. And I love that because it really takes the pressure off of that person you're talking to. And it's just an opportunity for you to share the health assessment. We're actually your coach too, to do the health assessment with you listening for those very first ones. And so your only job for the very first is really bringing those first 5 to the phone, and you get to learn from them. And then as you get comfortable, you'll start doing some of that. They'll listen to you, and it becomes very natural to learn how to do the health assessment on the phone. So I love our process there. After those practice calls, it's a little different. The script changes a little bit. You don't say, I want to do a practice call on you. But you can use some of those same scripts that are available in the app under, under that very first category. And, it really is about connecting authentically and catching up with the people you haven't talked to in a while. And really, I would say the primary goal in reaching out to people is discovering if they have an opening for a conversation. That's it. That's it. So the nice thing is you can enter a conversation with absolutely no strings attached. You don't have to worry too much about the outcome. But the goal is connecting with lots of people and looking for an opening for whether they are curious about what you're doing. So sometimes it naturally leads there. Sometimes it doesn't so much. And you don't have to feel bad about leaving some of those conversations open-ended for the next time, because there will be a next time as they start to see you and what you're sharing on social media. So the biggest thing is relax, connect authentically, and look for those that have an opening. And the goal then would be to schedule a time to do the health assessment on the phone. We really want to avoid doing lots of information sharing back and forth by messenger, because it really does take away from the personal connection component, and kind of, takes away from the opportunity for them to open up and share. Our health assessment they're going to talk about it, but it is gold in how it brings people to a point of decision and really focusing on what's most important to them. So the other category, after you reaching out, so there's the 3 different categories. You kind of start with 1s, you move to the 2s, the 3s you save for when you're all out of 1s and 2s. And then, of course, as we all know, as people watch your journey, you're going to have people that you see on a regular basis, or friends and family that are watching you, that you may be talking to in person. Strategy's still the same there. We want to kind of avoid doing health assessments on the fly at work, or when you're in the grocery store, but really try to, if they're asking for more information, say, hey, can I get on the phone with you sometime? Go ahead and set up a time then that you can reach out and do that health assessment with them. That's going to be the best chance for success there. And then just a little bit, I know I don't have too much time because I don't want to take away from everyone else, but the other 2 categories with Facebook, I don't know that we have, we're going to get too much into that, but we have a great system for branding yourself as a health coach on Facebook. And there's some great trainings. Ask your coach if you don't know what I'm talking about, but we use a method called 3x3x3. It's really, living your life out loud, sharing posts that are helpful, sharing things that are inspiring for people. And I would say at this point in my coaching, close to maybe 75-80% of my clients now come from messaging me because of what they're seeing on social media. So instead of now this script has flipped a little bit. It's not necessarily me reaching out and, it's they've been watching me for years now, and now the time is ready that they're asking me, okay, tell me about your program. And then I schedule the health assessment. So that's kind of the value of starting now and being consistent with those steps, because it will turn around. And then as you have your clients successful, the 4th category is leads and referrals. Teaching your clients how to refer early on. We do that in the form of celebration calls. You get them on the phone with your mentor coach a week or 2 into their journey, and they kind of layer the whole, idea on how to refer, so you don't have to feel awkward about it. And then we also, tell them that they possibly can coach their friends and family too. But leads and referrals are a great source of clients that can take a little time to develop. But when, the longer you're in this business, the more sustainable that form of client acquisition is, because all your clients are out there as walking billboards. So teaching how to refer is absolutely key. So that's what I wanted to share. Is there anything I missed, Jennifer, or do you want me to have them ask questions or save that till the end? You're muted.
We can save the questions to the end, but
Okay.
could you do, I'm gonna do a little impromptu thing,
Sure.
because getting out of the gate and getting started is the hardest part, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
let's take a piece of paper and a pen out, and we're gonna do this little timing exercise, and you're just going to write down any name that comes to mind. Any name. Don't think about if they need to lose weight. Don't think about, any commentary in your head between these two. You don't want to get into your head. Just the names come out and you're just going to write them down, because this is how you get things kind of started and moving. So do you want me to time them, Heidi, or do you want to do it?
I can do it. Do you want to do how many minutes?
2. Just 2.
2. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Give me 1 second to get that on the clock. And are you guys ready? And let's go for 2 minutes.
I love the silence of working.
Twenty more seconds. Think of 20 more people. All right. Time's up.
Okay, so let's just see, Heidi, for fun, who has, just raise your hand if you have more than 10 people on your list.
Yay. Okay.
Nice. 20. Anybody have 20? Ooh, we got some 20s. Anybody have 30? 20.
20. Okay.
20s. That's great.
20 in 2 minutes. So imagine what you could do in 5 minutes, right?
Yeah, yeah. And the key to this is not to overthink, right, Heidi? Don't overthink it.
Mm-hmm.
You just want, because these people are on your heart. They may not be in your head, but they're on your heart. So, and not every name is somebody that needs, well, I feel like everybody needs the program in one form or the other, but they're also people that can connect you to other people. So
Mhm.
even if you're thinking of someone that doesn't need to lose weight and you're wondering, well, should I really reach out? There's, first of all, there's so many other aspects of our program that could really be helpful. And also they can be what we call a connector, and someone that's, connecting you.
I forgot to mention, that's kind of, there is other scripts to use for people just to get the word out. There's, ways to kind of, you connect with people, but you also let them know what you're doing. And you can say something like, if you know of anyone that is looking for this, this, or this, feel free to send them my way, or think of me, or something like that. And you can do that. When I first started coaching, I went crazy with those messages, because now and then years later, you have some people that are like, oh yeah, you told me about this. So it really does work.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I use that for people that really do need the program, but I don't want to say that I am contacting them because they need the program. So I say, well,
Yeah.
you know a lot more people than I do, and I just wonder if you'd help me get the word out. And then they say, well, wait a second, maybe this could be something for me. So
Mhm.
it's a great approach. It's a soft approach. Really
Yeah.
good. Okay, so that's wonderful. Heidi, was fabulous, and what a wealth of information you are. Really appreciate that. So next we're going to do the health assessment. So we talked about identifying and approaching. So now you have some people to do some of the practice health assessments with, or people that might be interested in what you're doing because maybe they see that you've melted away, or maybe you've done a Facebook post where you're down 17 pounds or whatever, and these people are reaching out. So let's just talk about this, because there is a lot of good information again in the phone app, but I just wanted to make note of a couple of things that I think are really important, that could be helpful. So hold on. And let's see where this is. Okay, so what I did is I just took the actual health assessment and I wrote these in. So I will post this just because I think it could be helpful to you, especially when you're starting to do these things on your own, or even when you have your mentor coach doing this with you, you start to see that this is kind of exactly what she's doing, he or she is doing. And you want to really make it conversational. And if you think about when you had the health assessment done with you, did you even know you were having a health assessment? It felt like you were just having a conversation, right? So that's what we want to do, is really make it conversational. And we want to tap into the art of listening. So many people, I think they said like 95% of people actually are formulating what they're going to say before the other person hasn't even stopped talking. So putting on that, the art of active listening is really listening thoroughly. It's okay if there's a pause in there. A lot of coaches, when I do assessments with them, they get very concerned that there's a pause and it makes them very nervous. But the pause actually allows the person to elaborate. So a pause can be very, very powerful, just as powerful as talking. And then what you want to do, you're going to take that, you're going to listen, and then you're going to ask follow-up questions. So a really easy one you can always ask is, tell me more about that. So that you're getting them to elaborate more about what it is that they really want. They're starting to unfold what they want. You want them to start talking about what they really want to create, and you want that to kind of unfold. And because it's the first question, sometimes they don't just blurt that out. So I love it. Tell me a little bit more about that. And then pause. And then they'll elaborate. Or how does that make you feel? So say they complain about unhealthy sleep, and so is that affecting your day? How is that? You can probe a little bit. And this way people feel heard, and you're also getting some really valuable information to help them, especially recommending elements in the book, and also what else they need besides weight loss. Because usually people say weight loss, and then there's a few other things that they need some help with. Another one, is there anything else that comes to mind that you would like to improve upon or change? And, and then I always say, I'm curious, on a scale from 1 to 10, what number do you give yourself for your overall health? And what do you think would, and then they answer, and then I'll say, well, what do you think could move you closer to a 10? And just that you're starting to get some insight into their thinking, and and really what maybe their blocks to why they haven't done something successfully in the past. So that's one. And then the second one is when we're getting into what is the motivation to change your health. And I think sometimes the people need a little clarification with that question. So I'll say, if you could have support and good results, how do you see your life changing for the better? Being at your goal weight, and then you're creating a picture. So you're having them almost dream here for a minute, just what that would look like to be at that goal weight, to be hiking that trail, to be running a 5K or whatever it is that they want to do. So the reason why that's so key in a health assessment is because you want someone to make a decision on the program using logic and emotion. You don't want one or the other, you want both. That's how people make the best decision. And then, I'll say, well, gosh, can you imagine how it would feel? And then I would repeat something that they shared, like not being short of breath or going up the stairs. Or can you imagine how it's going to feel when you can bend over and tie your shoe? Your wife doesn't have to do it. So those little things can really open up conversations for people that give you one word answers. Because sometimes that's kind of what happens, when, especially if you're talking with someone that you don't know very well. So moving into number 3, can you tell me about a time in your life when you were healthier? So, again, you want to get into the feeling aspect. And, I like to ask the question, you can ask it a couple different ways, but I like to ask, so if you were to put it in words, what would you say is your biggest struggle? So, because a lot of times people will say that they lost weight, gained weight, lost weight. And so you want to know, what is it that is the crux of the problem? And then, of course, tell you about your health. That's kind of self-explanatory. We want to know really now, I'll be really honest with you. In the 14 years I've been coaching, there's very few people that cannot do the program. There's very few contraindications. And if coaches are here, can you nod and say yes? That is really true. Sometimes people will need a modification, but there's very, very few contraindications. But you do need to know a little bit about what medications they're using, just to make sure that we're recommending the right program. Because we do have guides for modified programs like gout, nursing moms, type 1 diabetes, and things like that. So you're going to want to gather that information and have them check with their healthcare provider, especially if they're on insulin or a medication that might need to be changed. And then if you have a story, share your story. Talk, not a long amount of time, not a lengthy story, but just a minute, and say, and what I do often is just reflect on my story briefly. And I'll just say, you said that you were short of breath. You said that you were tired all the time. And boy, I could really relate to that. And what I found is when I started to the program after the first week, so many of those things were no longer an issue. So you can tell a story that's pertinent to something that they shared in questions 1 and 2. So if they said, something that is relatable to you, you want to hit on that so that they know that they were heard and that you understand. And then the second part, now we don't want this assessment to go on really on and on and on. You want to be able to do this in 20 to 30 minutes. So what I do is I just take the parts that were relevant to that particular person. If they complain about sleep, if they complain about, exercise, how they're unable to exercise, you can get into some of those things. And then I move down to the weight management part. And I go over, because all this information you're going to get while coaching the person when they come on board. So, and you're going to be changing a lot of that, especially food and hydration. So the weight management piece, you just need to know a little bit, how old they are. And, just because you need to kind of know where they are and where they want to go with their weight. because we don't want to assume that we're not going to take out a BMI chart and say you need to be here. We want to know what they think is a comfortable weight, and we want them to set their goals, and then we can partner with them to achieve that. And then surroundings, just, this is important because you want to know who's doing the cooking. Some people in some households don't have control of the food. And so you want to kind of know that. And it also allows you to open up to asking if you have someone in your household, do you have anybody else that would be interested in walking alongside of you with this program? So a lot of husbands and wives do it, a lot of children do it, but it's good to pose that question. So that's the assessment, and I just wanted you to know that we also have this right in that health assessment sharing script. So it's perfect because you can go through the 4 components of the program. You can actually, this is so well done, you can just read this off if you printed this or if you had it on your computer when you were talking on the phone. I think it's excellent. And I use this all the time. And it's just so easy because it really covers all the most pertinent things. And it also emphasizes that the program has 4 components. It's not just fuelings. It's not just what you're eating. It's a lot more than that. And we want the clients to see the value of what we're providing. So that is health assessment. And does that make sense? Can people nod? Yes, no? Yes? Okay, I'm going to stop sharing here. And Chuck, you're up next. Let me get your slides up.
All right, while you're doing that, so the slides come right out of the week 4 of the boot camp that Dan Bell and others are running. So I'm not going to read what's on the slides per se, but they'll be there as a reference. First and foremost, so when you get a chance, if you've seen this already, great. If you haven't seen those particular slides, it's a great set. So first and foremost, think about all of the objections and smoke screens that people can put up, and just really learn. There's a good 5 or 6 of them. Learn what those are and learn the proper responses to address those. There's some really good dialogue in the week 4 boot camp around that. But the most important thing is to remember that not everyone's going to say yes, and that's okay. And when they don't say yes, it means not yet for most people. I've had plenty of folks call me 9 months later after a health assessment and say, I'm ready now. And you really can't be ready for them. They have to be ready for themselves. You definitely don't want to try and push or force in any way. So if it's not right now, that's okay. And you can't take it personally, right? This is their journey, not your journey. You didn't fail. If you provide the information and you've asked, the right questions and they're just not ready yet, then they're not ready yet. That's okay. More specifically, I've had several people where I've gotten to the end of the health assessment and I said, on a 1 to 10, how motivated are you really to do this? And if they don't say 7 or higher, and I've had a few, I've said, I don't think you're ready to do this, and it's going to be a waste of time and money for you and for me. Why don't you wait until you're really ready? And they're like, well, wait a minute, and then that really gets them thinking. It's rare, but it does happen, and it's important because you'll just be wasting your time and their time. But again, when they say no, that really just means not yet. So it's all about building relationships and building trust and adding value and creating conversations with them. So stay engaged with them. Don't necessarily say, okay, forget it, I'm never going to talk to you again, right? In your own head, that's your story. Say, hey, okay, great. They're not ready yet. That's fine. They're a good person. They're a friend. They're a colleague. They're whatever. I'll stay in touch with them. And someday maybe they're ready. But you know what? Even if they're not, maybe they know someone who is. And maybe that person will come around in a week, 2 weeks, a month, a year from now. So always be open. It's never a forcing function. Know that you can help them, right? You're there to help guide and help provide some answers and educate and help hold them accountable. But they have to have the motivation. They have to want to do it. So ways to stay informed and engaged, right? There's, Facebook and Instagram exchanges. Do your Facebook, birthday posts with folks. And if you do that on a regular basis, you'll come around to that person at least every year doing a, hey, happy birthday. Hope everything's going great, et cetera, et cetera. Stay engaged with them, read their Facebook posts, read their Instagram posts, comment on them. Heidi mentioned the 3 and 3, those same people are going to come around in that process, and so stay engaged with them. I always ask their permission, but I add them to the Habits of Health every week. I send out an email on Monday saying, hey, tonight's topic is XYZ. Hope you can make it. And I send that to folks who are clients, and I send that to folks who are not yet. I also add them to the weekly newsletter, and I tell them, hey, I send out a weekly newsletter. I know you're not ready to do the program, but you might find some really helpful tips along with, in your health journey. Can I add you to my newsletter? And I add them to the newsletter, and they get that every week. So I'm staying forefront on their mind. And at some point they may say, I really am ready to get healthy now. Maybe I should call that Chuck guy, because I keep getting his newsletters and they look pretty interesting. And maybe, and I remember the conversation we had. It's not that, oh yeah, that was 2 years ago. Who was he again? So you stay on the forefront of their mind doing things like that. Offer to add them to Healthy Friends. And so they can see what the community is all about, and they can stay engaged that way. And when you have these conversations with folks, like I said, there's no forcing function. Be yourself, care about them, be authentic about it, and build relationships, and just be happy about the relationships you're forming and building and strengthening. Whether they find that help from you right now as a coach, or because they were inspired to go to join a gym or do something completely different, but they're doing something because of the conversation you had with them, take that as a win, not a loss. And I've had several of those. I had one of those today. She's like, nope, don't want to do the program. I joined a gym instead. And I'm like, that's fantastic. I wish you all the best. And she said, if it doesn't work out, I'll call you in a few months. Great. And I added to my calendar, call her in a few months. So I'm going to reach out to her in mid-June and say, hey, how's the gym going? Is that working out for you? Great. Fantastic. No, maybe that's, oh yeah, let's talk. So next slide, please. And a lot of what's on the following slides is we've covered a good bulk of it, right? But staying engaged with the person on Facebook, texting them, congratulate them for the successes they've had and what you've seen. Continue to share value, right? Whether it's through, sharing the life book with them, sharing things like, hey, we were in Forbes magazine, or we were in Fortune magazine, or People magazine. Use those opportunities to go, hey, I remember you told me about this in your health assessment. I just thought I'd let you know about this. Or maybe as a 2-minute presentation by Dr. A. Feel free to just share those things until they say, please stop. And that might happen, but 9 out of 10, it won't. But if it does, you just, great, I'll stop. And next slide. Okay. So, long-term, they're still not ready, right? Build your system, have a structure for tracking folks, whether that's a spreadsheet or a doc or a piece of paper or whatever it is, and be ready to look that over on a regular basis, whatever system works for you. Put reminders on your calendar, like I do, to follow up with people at certain times. Even if it's 6 months or a year from now, do the follow-up then. Occasionally go through that list of people and say, who have I not talked to in a year or a half a year? As you build more and more conversations, you'll want to go back through the set of conversations and follow up with those folks, right? That's that hot list that a lot of people refer to. But it's important that you have a system. That's the main thing off this slide, in my humble opinion. Yeah, keep them engaged. Next. Right. So there's still a not yet. You know, we've talked about most all of these already. You know, keep them engaged. You know, share the blog, Dr. Ray blog, et cetera, et cetera. There's some really good tips on there for doing that. And then the last slide on the action steps. You know, Heidi mentioned this, and I want to reiterate: be consistent, be authentic, but be consistent. Right? Follow up with folks and just stay on the forefront of their mind. You are your own brand. You know, what you put out is your brand, right? Heidi has her brand, Chuck has his brand, Jennifer has her brand, et cetera. So, you know, stay consistent with your brand, be you. Make your plan, commit to that plan. So, you know, for each of you, sit down tonight or first thing in the morning when you're fresh and say, all right, what are the things I'm going to do, you know, over the next 2 or 3 days? What are the things I'm going to do this week? Who is it that's on my list? Who have I not talked to in a while? Who am I going to follow up with? And then work it. You know, you do need to work it. And you stay with it and the consistency, and eventually people will start coming to health assessments. And those people, as you get more proficient and work with your mentorship team, that's really the last thing I want to highlight. Lean on your mentorship team, lean on your upline. We're all here to support each other and to support you. And, you know, the biggest mistake you can make is I'm going to go it alone and do it myself and, you know, do the Superman thing. Don't do that. I call my mentorship team almost every day. If I annoy them, they'll tell me I'm annoying. And even still, I'm going to call them anyway because I want to be successful. They want me to be successful. They want to help me. So you're not bothering anybody. You're not annoying anybody. Lean on your mentorship team. It's so important. The system is duplicatable. Don't try to wing it. Just use the scripts that are here. Learn that system and follow it. That's what I have.
Thanks, Chuck. That was great. There's so many things. And the one thing that's not on the slides, I don't think, is the Pursuing Health page. And that's a wonderful Facebook page that you can put clients in, like the not yets. They haven't quite made their decision. That's just a beautiful page because I think it's so well done. And it really just kind of goes over what you went over. Plus, they're seeing a lot of before and afters of different successful people that have posted their own before and afters in there. So talk to your mentorship about that and getting put into that Pursuing Health, because I think that's been a really wonderful resource.
That's great. Thanks for adding that, Jen. So
next we have Dot talking about getting our clients started properly. And I'm very excited to have Dot share this because she is truly amazing with getting her clients started properly.
Hi, everyone. I've been coaching for about 4 years now, and I love starting clients and I love working with clients. And it's very important that you start the client well that first week. I feel is the most important, so I touch base with them a lot. And I have a checklist, so I'm kind of going to be referring to my notes a little bit because I don't want to miss anything important, but I'll try and be succinct. And I just had Jennifer pull up the Coach app, which I was just going to refer to a couple different places. Hopefully you've all looked through the Coach app because it is a wealth of information. I'm always finding something new when I look in it. So now you've got your client that said yes. And so now what are you supposed to do with them? Obviously work with your mentor coach on how to sign them up underneath your Facebook or your web page, so that then it puts them into your Connect, into your office. And then you want to always add your client to the Healthy Friends support page. And then you're going to create that 3-way support in Messenger. probably 98% of my people are on Messenger. Occasionally, I've had to do it on a text, a three-way text thread with, it would be your client, you, and then your upline coach, because there's three of them, because that's what's wonderful about Optavia is all the support that we have. And then you're going to send the welcome letter. And if you don't know where to find the welcome letter, you can for sure talk to your coach, but it is in the coach app here, and it's a beautiful letter that you can just, I send it by email. So they've got it to refer to, because it does tell them, it's got different choices that they can click on to see stuff, but it also tells them how to get into their app, into their account too. So I always send it by email. And then, so then once you've got the welcome letter, I also, this is what I personally do, in some of the personal messages, it'll say certain things for them to download, but I always go into Coach Answers and I always send them 4 documents. And again, this is like Chuck says, you kind of make it your personal thing, but I found that this really sets people up that they have less questions from me. So I always send them the expanded condiments and fats list. I always send them the vegetable conversion list. I send them the dining out guide, and I send them what the Lean and Green meal looks like, because they've got probably 5 to 7 days before their kit arrives. So this is the way they can be thinking ahead as to what their Lean and Green meal looks like. And then when they start, they've got this condiment list and fats list that they can look at. So they've got it. And a lot of my people say, I printed it out and I have it available. And I really feel like that there's less questions asked of us than I think that first week. And then you're going to begin sending support messages. Right away, I send my first support message when I've got their kit ordered. And because then it verifies that you've got it ordered. I know they get the email message, but then I feel like you're right away starting your conversation. And something that Jennifer taught me from the very beginning that has served me well is I take each one of these support messages, I copy and paste it into my notes. So it works so fast that when I order the kit, I can go to my notes, I send a text, and I send these by text. I'll send the text for, I've got your kit ordered. And then it's just got a little blurb in there and what you can do to get set up. And then because they're excited, they're excited, you've got them all excited about their why and what this is going to look like. So then I like to send messages that first week, because you want to keep that excitement going. So then there's a second message there in your app there that talks about your program is ordered and on its way. When they get the email that their order is coming, you're getting that same email, and I check my emails every day. And the day that I see that it's being shipped out, I send them the email, hey, your program is ordered and it's on its way. And then in that message, it tells them other things that they can start doing too to get ready for their order to come in. And then the third message is when your order is arriving. So then you get the email too. And when you first get the first email stating, hey, the order's been shipped, it usually takes a day or two before it'll come across UPS to tell you what day it's going to be there. But I mark that in my book as to what day that it's coming, and then I'll send it out to them. Hey, your order's arriving on this particular day. And then it tells you things that they can do to prepare for. And then it also has on there, you'll want to be thinking about your start date. And it says in that message, a lot of people start on Monday. And so that kind of gets them thinking about what day they want to start. And then the fourth message is the night before the kickoff call. And that's very important to send that to them, because it's got the video in there for them to watch. And it's going to cut down on a lot of questions that you'll have the night before. And it tells them, all the why, to write down their whys and things like that. And so then once they have watched the video, then you're going to want to talk to them. Usually it's the night before I talk to them, but sometimes if a person can't make it the night before, it might be 2 days before or whatever. But then when you're talking to them the night before, it should be a quick call, like a 5 to 10 minute call, because they've got everything in this message. They've got everything in the video. So you just want to kind of go over their whys and get them excited about starting the next day. Everybody's kind of nervous. I know I was nervous, and all my clients say I'm nervous. So you just want to calm them down and say, hey, we got this. We're working on it together. And I always get really excited about helping them get started. And so then they start the next day and you've got your day messages to send to them. And you can tell them the night before that this is what your first week's going to look like. I'm going to send you a message every morning for the first 8 days, and it's going to have a little short video in there. And so then I do that in the morning. I send them a message. And then you're going to want to talk to them every night for about 5 or 10 minutes. It's just a brief call just to go over their day, make sure they got along with their feelings okay. And sometimes I'll go over the lean and green meal the first day or the second day, just to make sure they're understanding the combination of the condiments and the fats and all that, so they're not going rogue, and then they're following the program to get set up for success. So then I'll talk to them that first night. Then we'll set up a time, and I try and do it in the evening because I want to know what their day went like. Sometimes it has to be earlier, but I want to know what time you eat your meal, and then I'll talk to them after they've had their meal. And like I said, a brief call. And then if they have any questions, but hopefully if they have copy or if they have printed out all of their stuff, they should be set to go because they have studied this for a week, getting ready for it. And then I will confirm the time we're going to talk the next night. And I try and kind of keep it consistent so they're aware of it. And so I'll do that for 3 nights, usually 4 nights too. That's what the program recommends. So I do try and do 4 nights. And don't get concerned if they don't answer you one night. You don't know what's going on. You know, maybe something happened with one of their kids. So, you know, just be consistent about still following up with them. And then I always tell people to plan ahead too. You know, plan ahead what your meals are going to be. You know, stick your fuelings in the baggie the night before, especially if they're at work. And I always tell them keep some fuelings in their glove box of their car or in their purse in case they're caught out somewhere. So we kind of talk about that too. And then that's the main thing. And then on the 4th night, the 3rd or 4th night, when I've talked to them, I said, okay, we need to sell up. Now we're going to talk once a week. And then you set up what works well. And as a coach, I would recommend that you have a set time yourself for your schedule, because this is your business. And so you run it like a business. Don't let them set the time. You know, just I usually make my calls on Monday evenings and on Tuesdays. So I'll say, you know, does Monday evening or Tuesday work best for you? And then you guys set up a predetermined time, because that works the best if they consistently know what time you're going to call them. And sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. But as a coach, I would recommend a takeaway would be that you set it up when it works into your schedule. And then weekly, you're going to call them. And so they kind of consistently know a time that I'm going to call them. And it's important I feel like it's important. I always start out asking them what the wins were. You know, what were your wins for the week? How was your week on program? Because you want to start out with the positives first. And hopefully the first week, they're usually pretty excited and things have gone well. And then you can, you know, talk to them about, and I don't try and get focused on the scale. You know, they want to get focused on the scale. I want to get focused on how this makes their body feel, because you want to truly get them engaged in the transformation process, because if they treat it as a diet, they're going to lose their weight and then gain it back again. So then your weekly calls gives you the chance to talk about the community calls, because you want to get them engaged in all 4 of the components, you know, your coach and then your community, and then the habits of health. And when you get your coach kit, some of you probably have already got your coach kit, but if you haven't gotten it yet, there's going to be a coaching book in there. So if you have not gone all through the life book, which a lot of people have not when they first start coaching, that coaching book summarizes what's in all of those chapters, and try and get the people engaged in there as much as possible. And then the 4th part is the fuelings, and you can talk about the fuelings and how things are going. And then you as a coach stay on top of, you know, listening to the weekly coach calls too. That gives you a lot of good tidbits. So anybody else want to add? I mean, this is the process I go through, and I'm consistent. I'm very consistent.
Wow. You are very consistent. Just, I want to make mention to one thing, because I know Heidi and her team use the automated version of the support messages. I think Mitzi does too. So it's just really a choice, but talk to your mentorship to see what would work out best for you. And, but you're doing the same thing. You're really front-ending the support, getting them into a really good fat burn state. And really we're surrounding them with a sense of community and support, so that they can be successful. So whether you're using one avenue or the other, just make sure you're using one or the other, for sure.
And I guess one other point I want to make is it's so important to be authentic. I think Chuck had made that comment too, to be authentic on your calls. I could really get engaged with my people. I get excited for them.
You do.
Uh,
I love doing celebration calls with you because she knows her clients so well. makes my job easy. So anyway, I am just thrilled that we were able to do this tonight and that everybody came on. And of course, we're recording. So any new coach here, I'll send this recording out to you in Messenger or in an email, depending if you don't have Messenger. And just so that you have it, you may want to take a listen again. There's probably some, there's a lot of information, especially on the follow-up and the support and, and of course the approach that Heidi did. So I will send that out to you in the next couple of days. And thanks so much. Well, let me ask, is there anybody have any pressing questions before we let you go? I don't want to keep people too late, but I also want to make sure your questions are answered. Okay. Well, I guess we did such a great job that nobody has questions, but if you do have questions, please reach up to your sponsor and your mentorship to go over anything that was confusing or anything that you felt you want to try, you want to look at some more, and you can get on a Zoom with your sponsor and your mentor. So thank you so much for coming tonight, and have a great rest of your evening.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night, everybody.